visible to all of you? Once again, good evening to everyone. We are here from Tej Academy, doing the EMRS free online classes for TGT, PGT. And today's topic is learners' characteristics. In yesterday's class also, we spoke about learners' characteristics, but we were talking more about the physical and the developmental aspects. In today's class, we're going to talk about the social and emotional aspects of adolescence and also the educational implications of these social and emotional aspects that come during adolescence or during the age of adolescence. So before we start, I request you all to please subscribe to Tej Academy app and also press the bell icon so that you receive all the latest notifications. Every day we are uploading the classes on YouTube and we're also uploading important information in the form of flashcards and YouTube shorts where quick information is passed on to you regarding all the recent developments that is happening with respect to EMRS. We are also covering different examinations, different various examinations other than EMRS also. Also, we are available at the Google Play Store. You can just type Tej Academy at Google Play Store and download our app. Or you can scan the QR code that is displayed on the screen and you can download our Tej Academy app. Yes, RK, can you please mute yourself? Mr. RK? Yeah, thank you. So as I was talking about our Tej Academy app, detailed notes of every single session that is done here is uploaded on the Tej Academy app and is available for your access. So to access our notes that are in detail with examples and other things, you can download the Tej Academy app and access our notes. So with this, we'll start our class. So in yesterday's class, we were discussing a lot about the growth and developmental aspects among adolescents, right? We discussed the dramatic physical and cognitive changes adolescents experience. Their bodies are transforming and their minds are unlocking new powers of thought. In this part, in today's session, we are going to focus on the heart of the matter, that is social and emotional development. In this session, we will explore the intense social pressure they face during the time of adolescence and the emotional roller coaster they ride. And most importantly, what this means to us as teachers, because we as teachers also need to know the social and emotional aspects of adolescence, because we are going to face adolescents as TGTs and PGTs, trained graduate teachers and postgraduate teachers. Predominantly, we'll be spending most of our time with adolescents. So understanding their social and emotional development is very much important for us. So as we come to the first part, the social world of adolescence. The central theme of social development in adolescence is a shift from family to peers. We all know, we all have been through that, through that ride. As we start growing to the, to adolescence, and when we start entering class 7, class 8, class 9, our relationship becomes more stronger with our peers, right? Our focus shifts from family to friends. And the fundamental question to answer is, who am I? This is self, identity that is forming. And with that identity formation, there are a lot of doubts coming, a lot of confusion coming among adolescents. We'll just try to understand the power of the peer group, right? Peer group plays a very strong influence, and most of you who are already teachers in schools know how much importance do adolescents give to their peer groups and their friends. So for an adolescent, fitting in with peers is often more important than anything else. They would do anything to get into a group, right? Peers provide a sense of belonging, support, and a space to test out new ideas and behaviors. So when we talk about the power of peer, let us look into the different aspects that come in that. So first one is friendships. What happens during adolescence? Friendships become deeper, right? Friendships become more intimate. Adolescents start sharing information with friends more than parents, and there are some information they're more comfortable in discussing with their friends than discussing at home, right? So friendship become deeper and more intimate and are based on trust and mutual understanding rather than just shared activities. So when you look into adolescents, they do have groups, but these groups are very confined. It's very rare to find adolescents having a very large group. Even if there are large groups, they are They're conformed to few individuals when it comes to talking about something very specific, right? So this is about friendship that starts becoming very deeper during the stage of adolescence. Coming to the next one, that is conformity and peer pressure, right? The desire to conform is extremely strong. Conform means to belong somewhere, right? This conformity can be positive also, can be negative also. If you're talking about a positive example of conformity and peer pressure, for example, a peer group that values good grades, good marks, right? If a student wants to get into such a group, it will be a positive outcome for the group, for the child. But if we take a negative example, right? For example, pressure to do a risky behavior, for example, getting into substance abuse or trying, pressure into trying alcohol or doing aggressive stunts might be a very risky thing for a child, right? This is the negative aspect of trying to be uh, conforming to a specific group. But this is the problem that they have. And this is the phase where they try to explore a lot. The third one is quest for independence. We all have seen this, we all have been through it, and we are observing this among our students at present. Those of you who are a little older and who already have kids who have reached to the stage of adolescence will very clearly relate to this, right? So, what is this quest for independence? It is a natural and necessary part of growing up. First and foremost thing that we need to understand is that this is a natural and necessary part of growing up. And what happens here is the child is trying to pull away from parental control. So the child wants freedom. The adolescent wants freedom. The adolescent wants to do things like how they want, when they want, or wherever they want. So what happens? This often leads to conflict with parents, and the conflict with parents over multiple issues, like issues with freedom, issues related to friends. Right? Sometimes parents say you don't go with him or you don't go with her, and the friends, they know that this is something one who is very close to me and I would like to spend time with them, right? So conflict might arise. So freedom, friends, and even future plans. I want to do this, I want to do that, but parents will not agree. Parents will say no. If I fix that you should do engineering course, you should do an engineering course. And then this conflict might arise. So this is a part of their forming a separate identity. So this is not something that is more drastic or this is seen in specific individuals. More sometimes there will be adolescents who will not speak up, who will quietly agree. But then inside their head, there is lot of turmoil that might be happening. Yes. Any doubts till here? The social world of adolescence? Okay. We'll move on to the next one then. Let us now look into key theories. Uh, Okay. You might have studied Eric Erikson in your B.Ed course. Uh, Eric Erickson's what is psychosocial development. He talked about 8 stages of psychosocial development, from infancy to uh, late adulthood. To old age. He has given different stages. So here, the fifth stage of Eric Erickson's theory of psychosocial development and its central crisis of adolescence. Right. So what Eric Erikson has done, he has given specific words here, right? Here you can see on the screen there is identity crisis, there is role confusion, and there is moratorium. Let us try to understand these words specifically. So what is this identity during adolescence? We have already discussed a few things about it. This is a clear and stable sense of who you are, what you believe in, and where you are going in life, right? So if you are able to form an identity, that means you are knowing who you are, right? What are the different things that you believe in? Okay, I believe in these things, but I do not believe in the other things that are happening. And what are you doing, right? In which path are you going in life? To achieve this, adolescents engage in something called as identity crisis, which is the next one. To achieve an identity, an adolescents first have to go through identity crisis. Now, the word crisis might confuse you people, but crisis is not necessarily a bad thing, right? It is an active period of exploration. Technically, this identity crisis is a period of exploration where the adolescents try on different things. They try different personalities, they try different beliefs, they try to see different, check different career paths and try to find out what fits best for them. Think of an example of trying different Anup, can you please mute yourself? Anup, am I audible to you? Anup,
Travel का है like board को हम
Anup, can you please mute yourself?
yes sir, yes sir, yes.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Okay, so yeah, I was taking the analogy, right? For example, an adolescent might be during the stage. In most of the movies, also you might have seen these things happening. What happens? One day, the adolescent will want to be a doctor. The other day, he would like to be a poet. And the next day, he'll again come and say, "I'll become a scientist," and a musician the other day. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to explore different things, and they're trying to find out how that this exploration is how they find their true self. So it's very much necessary for them to go through this identity crisis in order to form an identity or stick onto an identity. Then the next word that is given by Eric Erickson is role confusion. Now we talked about identity and identity crisis. So what is role confusion? In case an adolescent fails to form an identity, right? If the adolescent fails to navigate this stage successfully, they can be left with something called as role confusion, right? There is a sense of being adrift. That means they are just going somewhere. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know if this thing is right for them or wrong for them. They're unsure of who they are or what is their purpose in the world. This is a short-lived problem, but this is usually happens for adolescents, and they are very sensitive in this phase. They are like, I'm not able to do anything. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't know what path should I take. Right? And here the role of teachers become very important. And the next word that Eric Erickson gave was moratorium. Right? Eric Erickson also identified a term called psychosocial moratorium. Right? Or he also called it a timeout period. What is this timeout period? This is a period during adolescence where individuals explore different roles and identities without the pressure of making permanent commitments. So, this is only possible during the adolescent phase because once we enter the late adolescence phase, that is, we are completing our schooling and we are trying to enter into different fields, we have to make a decision. But here, moratorium means a period during adolescence where individuals explore different roles, identities, without the pressure that it may be family pressure, it might be pressure from school, it might be pressure from peers. So without having this pressure of making permanent commitments, this is moratorium. Any doubt with respect to what Eric Erickson has said? Okay, we'll move on to the next one. So there is one more person, that is James Marcia. So what he has done, he has expanded on Eric Erickson, and he has given four identity statuses for the adolescent stage, right? And he has used two terms here, two key dimensions, not terms, sorry, two key dimensions he has given. One is crisis. That means they have explored options, have they explored options, and commitment, have they made a choice, right? So James Marcia refined Eric Erickson's theory by classifying adolescents into four statuses, right? He has uh, classified them into four statuses based on two key dimensions, as we just now discussed. One is crisis. Have they explored options? And commitment. Have they made a choice? Have they made a commitment? If you look into these four statuses, the first one is identity diffusion. Here, there is no crisis and no commitment has been made by the adolescent, the student. So, the adolescent is not exploring and has not made any commitment here. They may seem directional or apathetic. That means they're least concerned about what is happening. If I take an example, we can say, for example, a 13-year-old or a 15-year-old says, I haven't really thought about my future. I haven't really thought about what course will I take after 10th. Whatever happens, happens. So this is identity diffusion. There is no crisis and there is no commitment. Moving on to the next one, that is identity foreclosure. What identity foreclosure? Here, there is no crisis, but there is a commitment that is already made. So a commitment has been made without exploration. So these are often the values. When we talk about identity foreclosure, most of the times it is something that has parental influence there or the choices of their parents. For example, if a student says, if a child says that I want to become a teacher, why? Because my mother is a teacher or my father is a teacher. So, without even considering the different careers, other career options that are present there, the child simply says, right, I'm going to become a teacher because my mother or father is a teacher. So, this is identity foreclosure. So, there is no crisis, but already a commitment has been made. Okay, so Pallavi has asked me to explain moratorium once again. Okay, I'll go back to the previous slide. Yes. So, what moratorium is Eric Erickson identified a specific phase, a period during adolescence. So he has termed it as psychosocial moratorium or moratorium. So what happens during this period is during this period, an adolescent explore different roles, right? So during adolescence, where an individual explore different roles and identities without the pressure of making permanent commitments. There is no pressure of committing to something. This is moratorium. This is small period that an adolescent has in their life, right? During their adolescent phase, where they can explore different options without confining that I have to become only this, or I have to choose this particular path. I have to take only science in 12th, or I have to take only arts or social sciences in higher studies. So the small phase that they have where they need not make this commitment. Okay. So that is what moratorium talks about. Is it clear, Pallavi? Yes. Yes. Temporary commitments. No need of making permanent commitments. They can try on different things. Thank you. Thank you, Naresh. Shall we move on to the next one then? Yes. So I was talking about James Marcia and I was talking about different statuses that he has given. And I finished identity foreclosure also. Let me talk about identity moratorium. Then again, here there is a crisis. In identity moratorium, there is a crisis, but there is no commitment. The adolescent is in the middle of an identity crisis. Actively, he is or she is trying to explore different options, but has not made a decision yet. So this stage is very active, right? But also very stressful. For example, a student who the student is attending classes for different courses. We have something called as bridge courses after completion of 10th for 11th and 12th, right? You might have heard about these bridge courses where you can go and you can just sit into a particular program and try to see how this program is, what are the different things that you can learn in this. So you can go and attend a program for science, for arts, for literature and other things. And you can make a decision, but here in this stage they're trying different options but they are not able to take a particular decision. So there is a crisis but there is no commitment. This is identity moratorium. When we'll come to identity achievement, like if we can consider this as the last stage, and here the adolescent has finally made a decision. So there is a crisis, yes, and a commitment also has been made. So adolescent has gone through a period of exploration. The adolescent has gone through a period of exploration and has made a clear commitment to a set of values and a life path, right? This is the most ideal outcome that is expected. But then everyone has, every individual is unique, every individual is different, and identity achievement may happen at a very later stage for few individuals, but some might be confused for a very long time. So, not a big problem. So, for example, if I take an example, uh, I'll take the example that we have discussed. For example, you have volunteered at a hospital and an animal shelter, and you have seen animals in despair. You have seen how animals are treated, and you have taken care of animals. You have been around animals for a very long time, and you started loving them. So, by spending so much time with animals, volunteering at a hospital and animal shelter, you have come to a decision that I don't want to eat these animals, but I want to become a vegetarian. So, this is an example of identity achievement. Any doubt till here? Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. Let us look into the influence of environment. How environment influences the social learning and ecological systems. You might have heard about the name Albert Bandura, right? At least the term Bandura might be ringing something in your head. So, Albert Bandura's social learning theory. Yes, yes, correct, Naresh. Thank you. Albert Bandura's social learning theory. What Albert Bandura says, what does this theory says? This theory explains how adolescents learn social behaviors, right? They learn by observing and imitating others, especially their peers and media figures. Right? Media figures play a very big role in how adolescents shape their identity or want to be looked at. Okay. Yes. So Naresh is saying observation, imitation, manipulation. Yes. 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 Right. So here the theory explains how adolescents learn social behaviors. They learn this by looking at different people, trying to act how they act. You might have seen a lot of people try to imitate movie stars, the way Shah Rukh Khan walks or the way a person delivers a dialogue. All these things are kind of imitated by individuals. Especially that, and this process of observing and imitating others, their peers or any other figure, their teachers, even the teachers or any other person that they have seen. This is called modeling, right? And again, he has talked about two major aspects here. First one is vicarious reinforcement, and second one is self-efficacy. What is this vicarious reinforcement? They see their peers being rewarded for certain behaviors. They very systematically or very keenly observe their peers being awarded for specific behavior. For example, a person is wearing nice shoes, right? And people like that person because he wears nice shoes. So being popular for wearing nice shoes, and they are most likely to imitate the person. So they are most likely to imitate that person. Okay, even if I wear shoes, people will, come to me, talk to me, they'll appreciate me, something like that. All those things will be there. The second one is self-efficacy, a key concept in their belief. Okay, a key concept is the belief in their own ability to handle social situations. Self-efficacy is very important for individuals. High self-efficacy leads to more confident social interactions, right? And adolescents might adopt a slang or a particular way they dress or the way they like music based on what their friends like or the group that they are in like, by observing them and by carefully trying to find out what they are interested in. So this is self-efficacy. Then there is one more thing that I have not included in the slide, uh, because I think this was not necessary, but I'll just discuss here. That is Ure Bonfraben's ecological systems theory. So here also he has talked about this theory reminds us that an adolescent develops with a complex system of relationships. He has talked about three systems, that is microsystem, mesosystem, and macrosystem. This will be included in the notes. So if you want to go through it, you can please download the Tej Academy app and go through the notes for this specific theory. Now, let us look into the emotional roller coaster, right? Adolescence. If we'll try to remember our previous class, we were talking about what Stanley Hall said, a period of storm and stress. Adolescence is a period of storm and stress. So it most accurately describes the emotional life of an adolescent. There is so much going on in their life. Their emotional responses are often more intense and volatile than of children and of adults. Adolescents are more dramatic. Adolescents are more intense when it comes to expressing themselves, even when you compare them to children or adults. So there are different things here. Let us look into them one after the other. The first one is emotional volatility, right? We all know that as soon as they hit puberty, lot of changes are happening in their body, right? There is physical changes that are happening, right? And secondary sexual characters are developing. And the reason behind all these changes is hormones. Hormones are technically injected in their body, pumped in their body. And due to these hormonal changes, and we have to remember that in adolescence, the brain is still developing. So there is a still developing prefrontal cortex, frontal cortex or frontal lobe, we call it, right? The frontal lobe is the brain's emotion regulation center. So adolescents experience rapid and intense mood swings during this stage, right? That's where the emotional volatility comes. They are not confined to one emotional state. So sometimes what happens for adolescents, even a minor issue might be a very big problem, right? You might have seen that, or you might have experienced it by yourself, or if you have an adolescent in your home, or in your students also might be an example. A small issue, for example, if they have something favorite that they value a lot and it breaks, let it be a keychain or something, they will start throwing an emotional tantrum. I'm not like a child, but they'll be very emotional and they'll be confined to themselves. So something like that. So there is a lot of emotional volatility at this stage. Then the second thing is development of self-concept and self-esteem, which is very important. So self-concept talks about who you think you are, right? Who you think you are. Or if I'm considering myself as an adolescent, self-concept means what am I? What do I think I am? And self-esteem means how you feel about who you are. Concept is about what you think you are, and self-esteem is how do you feel about who you are. So when we talk about self-concept, adolescents develop a more abstract self-concept, right? Here, they define themselves based on beliefs and values, not just physical traits. In self-concept, if a person is like, I do not throw waste outside, I keep my surroundings clean, that becomes their self-concept because of their beliefs and values regarding not polluting a particular place. So self-concept is not just physical trait, it's about who you think you are. Self-confidence. Okay, self-confidence can be called as a part of self-concept, Naresh. Yes. Then the second one is self-esteem. Self-esteem often takes a dip during early adolescence. We all know that during early adolescence, there is a lot of changes happening in our body. So development of acne might be there. Then your body develops at an irregular phase. So your face might be short, your other body parts might be longer. Something like that might be happening. So at the beginning of early adolescence, a person might have low self-esteem because there are a lot of bodily changes happening and a lot of comparisons are happening between individuals. But this self-esteem tends to recover as they develop a clearer sense of identity. As they start growing up and they develop this identity, they become very clear and they have a proper self-esteem. And there are other common emotional challenges that adolescents face. First one is stress, and second one is anxiety and peer pressure. What is this stress? Stress might be a lot of things. It can be academic pressure, it can be social expectations, or conflict with families, right? Anything or even a small issue can become a source of stress for adolescents. And second one, which is anxiety and peer pressure. Oh, as we were talking, that adolescents have a very strong sense of belonging to a particular group, right? So this their quest to fit into a particular place or into a particular group can cause immense anxiety for them. Or and because they want to get into a particular group, they have to do the things that they are doing. Or when they ask to be done, they have to show themselves, prove themselves to be a part of a group. They might be asked to do something, and just to be accepted into that group, they might get into the peer pressure. And then again, peer pressure can be positive and negative. We had seen that already. So this was about the common emotional challenges. Now, what are the educational implications of this? And what is your role as aspiring teachers of EMRS and any other position that you want to get into who are already you are already teachers. So what is your role? What are the educational implications here? The first one is, before going to facilitator, we all, we have a classroom full of students, right? When we talk about adolescents, a classroom full of students who are physically changing, not only physically changing, they are thinking differently, they are thinking abstractly, and also they are in search of an identity and they are on an emotional roller coaster. So many things are happening with your students in your classroom. So what is your role here? Okay, Naresh has put in group self-concept is self-understanding. Esteem talks about confidence. Naresh, if you properly look in esteem, does not just talk about confidence. It talks about how you look at yourself. So this confidence can be high, confidence can be low also. So how you look at how you feel. It's not just confidence. It's not just you're carrying yourself. How do you feel about yourself? Some people are not so confident about how they look, but they are very confident about how they speak. So there's a conflict that goes on there. So self-concept is who you think you are, right? As a person, who are you? But esteem is how do you carry yourself? How do you feel about yourself? Knowing myself and then knowing how do I feel about myself. These are two different things. You can explore further, or you can get go into the notes that will push, and that will give you clarity about that. Okay, Naresh, or you still have a doubt? You want me to go further? I'll just add one more point for you, Naresh. So when we are saying, when we talk about self-concept, we say, right, they start defining themselves, they start associating themselves with particular beliefs and values. When we talk about self-concept, that this is right, this is wrong, right? This is how I should be, this is how I should not be. That is concept. You are having a particular concept about a particular thing. But when you talk about esteem, right, you are more worried about how you feel about yourself. You're more confident about how you look. You're more confident about how you talk. So that part comes there. Yes, thank you. I'll go ahead. So we are now talking about educational implications. So first one is be a facilitator of identity development. As a teacher, your role is to be a facilitator, not only for teaching a particular subject, but also for the development of identity for the adolescents. So what you have to do here is provide opportunities for exploration. How can you provide opportunities for exploration as a teacher in classroom? You can use different pedagogical techniques in class. You can use a project-based learning method. You can have debates in the classroom. You can give creative assignments for students where they can explore something and inquire. They can do a proper guided inquiry where they'll find answers for a particular question and come back and then try to explain what they have found out. Right. The main purpose here is for you to allow students to explore their interests and express their own opinions. Okay, so you have to provide them opportunities to explore their interests and express their opinions, which is very important. The second one is value the choice. So create a classroom environment where students' opinions are sought, not only sought, they are respected. And even if the opinions are different, even if different students carry different opinions, their opinion should be valued. But then a proper discussion should be had there regarding what is correct and what is not. Yes, Naresh, identifying individual differences, sensibilities, conducing environment. Okay, okay. Thank you. Second one is create a safe and supportive environment. This we have stressed multiple times till now. We talked about psychological safety. We talked about how the classroom should be, right? Then also there are some other things that you should keep in mind as a teacher. There should be no tolerance to bullying in the classroom, right? There should be no tolerance to bullying. And preventive measures should be taken, and any form of this thing should be addressed as soon as possible. And one more thing is, as a teacher, you should allow students to make mistakes because mistakes are for learning, right? It is okay to be wrong. And mistakes should be treated as opportunities to identify where they went wrong and how can they correct themselves. And with this, we come to the third one, that is act as a guide and counselor. Like a teacher cannot replace a counselor. A counselor is a separate position itself. But in our B.Ed curricula, when we undergo the teacher education program, we also have a paper called as guidance and counseling. Right? Why are we studying this paper, guidance and counseling? So that we should know the basic nuances of where, at your level as a teacher, you can guide and counsel students. So the first step that you should do is be approachable. If you're not approachable, students will never share their things with you. So when we talk about be approachable, be a stable, calm, and trustworthy adult they can talk to, which is very important. And when it comes to providing guidance, you should offer guidance on study skills, career options, and time management. And there are other things also which you can look into. But please remember, when you come across a thing, a situation, or an issue that you think is not completely under your control, or you think that you cannot properly address it, please refer it to a counselor. And it is now mandatory that every school has a counselor. So please refer that to your school counselor. And the third thing is promote life skills as a guide and counselor, right? Integrate life skill education, including stress management, communication skill, decision making skill. There are a lot of other skills that come into life skills. Make these life skills a part of your teaching process in the classroom. This is how you can help the students. And the last one is to promote social skills and collaboration among students. What you can do here, you can use cooperative learning strategies and group work. When you talk about cooperative learning strategies, there are a lot of strategies that you can look into. So how this cooperative learning strategies will help you in the classroom? This will help the students when you are using these cooperative learning strategies, it will help students to build positive peer relationships, right? Because they'll be working in groups. They'll be cooperating with each other to complete a task. And they will learn how to work with others, take others' responses, wait for their chance. Also, teach a model conflict resolution skill. For example, in your class, you can have a particular hypothetical situation, and you can have a discussion regarding how would you respond to this situation, what might be wrong, what might be right. So students will also develop the values of empathy, sympathy. So it's very important to understand that the adolescence is a profound journey, right? The adolescent stage phase children are going through a journey to figure out who they are, right? Uh, they're trying to figure out who they are in the world where there is a lot of social and emotional change that is happening, right? So you cannot just call them big kids, or you cannot just say that these students are difficult, right? They are individuals who have their own mind, and they are at the stage of their life's most critical transformation, right? Cognitively, emotionally, socially, and also physically. So our job as teachers is to be more than just subject teachers, right? It is to understand, be patient, and be supportive guides for the students. And we have to create a stable environment where they can safely navigate this storm and stress phase and emerge as confident young adults. So with this, today's session gets over. Let us move on to questions. If you have any doubt till here, please ask. Any doubts? Okay, then we'll move on to the questions. The first one is, according to Eric Erickson. Okay, we have a, okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So, according to Eric Erickson, the primary psychosocial task of adolescent is to resolve the conflict between trust versus mistrust, initiative versus guilt, intimacy versus isolation. Last option, identity versus role confusion. So, the answers are already coming in the chat box. Pallavi says D, Naresh says A. Yes. Others? Try to remember Eric Erickson's theory. So here the correct answer is option D, identity versus role confusion. We were discussing about identity versus role confusion. They are, they should form an identity in the end. And to form an identity, they should have an identity crisis, right? If they're not able to, confine, then there might be a role confusion. Trust versus mistrust comes at a very early stage of Erik Erickson's psychosocial development. Naresh, you can look into the theory. So option D is the correct one here. Let us move on to the next question. Yes. A high school student decides to become a lawyer because her parents are both successful lawyers. She has never considered other careers or explored her own interests. According to James Marshall, this student is in a state of identity moratorium, identity diffusion, identity foreclosure, identity achievement. Okay, Naresh has said it's identity foreclosure. Pallavi Das has also said it's identity foreclosure. What about others? Kalpana also is going with the same option, and you all are correct. Yes. So it is identity foreclosure that the student is not able. The student is just going with what their parents are. So there is no proper crisis, but there is a commitment. Yes, correct. Moving on to the next one. Yes. A teacher notices that students in a class have started using specific phrases and gestures they observed in a popular web series. This social learning phenomenon, where behavior is learned through observation, is best described by Erickson's concept of role confusion, Bandura's concept of modeling, Bronfenbrenner's concept of microsystem, Marcia's concept of identity crisis. Naresh has said it's Bandura's concept of modeling. What about others? Nagaraj has said D. So I was talking about a theory where they learn by observing and imitating, right? Especially their peers and media figures. And this observing and imitating and trying to be like them is called, modeling. And this was said by. So Kalpana also says B. Yes. So the correct answer here is option B. Yes. So Albert Bandura talked about this concept of modeling. Yes. Moving on to the next one. An adolescent who is actively questioning their religious upbringing, exploring different political ideologies, and trying out various social groups without yet making any firm decision is best described as being in James Marcia's state of identity achievement, identity moratorium, identity foreclosure, identity diffusion. So if you look into identity diffusion, no crisis, no commitment. Identity foreclosure, no crisis, but there is a commitment. Identity moratorium, there is a crisis, but there is no commitment. And then identity achievement, there is a crisis and there is also a commitment. So if you look into the situation that is given here, right? If you look into the situation that is given here, an adolescent who is actively questioning the religious upbringing, exploring different political ideologies and trying out various social groups without yet making any firm decision. So there is a crisis, but there is no commitment. So James Martius, which state talks about this the best? So the correct answer here is identity moratorium. Okay. So the correct answer here is identity moratorium. What identity moratorium talks about? Identity moratorium talks about there is no crisis, but a commitment has already been made. Right? A commitment has been made without any exploration. Wait a second. So I think there's a small mistake here. If you look into the question, the child has not yet made any firm decision, but is exploring. That means there is a crisis, but a decision has not been made. When there is a crisis, but there is no commitment made, technically it is identity moratorium. That is correct. Yes, yes. Sorry for the confusion. Any doubt here? No problem. When you look into the notes, this will become very clear. Very clear. We'll move on to the next one. Let me erase this before that. Yeah. A student's belief in her own ability to successfully complete a difficult group project and present it confidently to the class is an example of what Albert Bandura calls self-esteem, self-concept, self-efficacy, vicarious reinforcement. Yes. So Naresh and Pallavi has said option C, that is self-efficacy. Please read the question again. Those who have not answered, a students believe in her own ability to successfully complete a difficult group project and present it confidently to the class in an example is an example of what Albert Bandura calls as. So when he says efficacy, a key concept, what when we look into efficacy, it is their belief in their own ability. Yes, Naresh, to handle social situations. High self-efficacy leads to more confident social interactions. So both Pallavi and Naresh are correct here. The correct answer is self-efficacy. Let us move on to the next one. Which of the following theories most directly explains how an adolescent peer group shapes their behavior through observation and reinforcement? I'll read the question again. Which of the following theories most directly explains how an adolescent peer group shapes their behavior through observation and reinforcement? Erickson's psychosocial theory, Marcia's identity statuses, Bandura's social learning theory, then Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems theory. So Naresh has said option A, Erickson. Pallavi also goes with Erickson. The question is, please read the question. How an adolescent's peer group shapes their behavior through observation and reinforcement. So who talked about imitation, observation, and trying to act like them? Right? Which theory talked about observation and imitation? Pallavi is saying option 3, Bandura social learning theory. So yes, it is Albert Bandura's social learning theory, where it is very clearly said that adolescents learn social behaviors by observing and imitating others, which is called as modeling. Okay. Moving on to the next question, which is the last question. An adolescent who feels apathetic and uninterested in their future, showing no signs of exploring options or making commitments, is experiencing role confusion, identity moratorium, identity diffusion, identity foreclosure. Yes. So here in this question, we are looking into Albert Bandura's theory, right? Sorry, we are looking into James Martius theory, not Albert Bandura. I'm sorry. We are looking into James Martius theory, and the child is uninterested and shows no signs of exploring also. No, nothing means diffusion, says Pallavi. So you all are correct here. The answer is identity diffusion. As James Marcia says, no crisis, no commitment. The adolescent is not exploring and has not made any commitments. Right? They seem directionless or apathetic. The term is also used in the question. So thank you so much for attending this class. If you have any doubts, or if you, while going through the notes, if you get through any confusions or if you have any doubts, please reach out to us on the below given number. And these notes of today's class, the detailed notes will also be uploaded in our Tej Academy website. Thank you so much for attending today's class. I hope this class was helpful. We'll meet in the next class. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.